Welcome back to another Jazz basketball breakdown. I'm obviously all alone tonight. For you guys in Utah, you know we got hit with a huge storm tonight, and Sean is stuck at home. His SUV is not working, and so he's got a little car, and it took him about 30 minutes to get home. So didn't want to try to drive here and be stuck here. So you got just me tonight. Had a good win against the Lakers tonight. This game started, and man, it felt like this was kind of the trap game, no LeBron James, and we were going to struggle against this game the way we started. Our starters came out really bad defensively. Our whole team did. There's not really any individual performance or anything like that in the first quarter that was good on the defensive side of the court. I felt like top to bottom, we were really just giving up open looks and not really hustling through anything as a team. And it was very frustrating. And it felt like we were going to get kind of run off the court. And then struggled a little bit to start the second quarter. And 6 minutes and 50 seconds left, we kind of bring in our closing unit for the first half with Markkanen, Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Fontecchio for a bit, and then Agbaji when Fontecchio got in foul trouble, and John Collins. Those 5 and 6 with Fontecchio and Agbaji, they made a huge run to bring this back into a competitive game that we then carried that momentum into the second half. That lineup gave us everything we needed. Like Markkanen and Clarkson hitting tough shots on the offensive end, and everyone on defense working. And that's a big thing, right? A lot of you guys got mad kind of about the Clarkson stuff last game. And, you know, a lot of our complaints are on the defense side of the court. And this game, this is what I want from Clarkson. This is all I need from you. I don't need you to come out be an all-star defender and a superstar defender who's locking people down. I just need you to try and give a damn. And he did for the most part of this game. He did. He got switched on to Hashimura several times this game, and kind of stood his ground, stayed in front of him at least long enough to let someone come over him. He even blocked Hachimura on one of the plays. That's all I need, because he'll give, and it's funny enough, it ends up being a not super efficient night on the offensive side of the court for him. And I was nowhere near as frustrated with him than I have in past games when he's had more efficient nights, because he was still playing within the offense for the most part, had a couple silly turnovers, but for the most part playing within the offense. And defensively, he tried, and that's what we're asking for. And he gave us what we needed in the second quarter. Him and Markkanen kind of came out, not kind of, they came out and gave huge kind of punches that we needed to have a chance to win this game. And then our team just seemed to carry that momentum into the second half. And so that ended up making it very good second half to watch. You could tell that we kind of rode that momentum into the third quarter with our starting unit back on the court. And so very happy with the performance that we got from that moment on in this game from our team. I would say everyone but Kelly Olynyk. Man, that dude, he just seemed like he did not want to play basketball tonight. When he came out to play, that dude came out and just stupid decisions on the offense side of the court, and defensively really wasn't there, and it showed it. Will Hardy played him way less minutes than he's been playing him, and that's kind of the growth of Will Hardy. Will Hardy has been willing to challenge his teammates or his team and expect certain things from his team, and when you don't perform, you get less minutes. He got less minutes. Walker Kessler got less minutes tonight, and Walker Kessler came out a little passive, it seemed, against Anthony Davis tonight. So I completely agree with them playing less minutes tonight. But second half, super fun to watch. We really still struggled against D'Angelo Russell. Went off on us, and no matter who was on him, Chris Dunn, Sexton, really struggled against him. Agbaji came out, and that was part of the run towards the end of the first half. Agbaji actually slowed him down, but man, that dude is on a slump. A huge slump right now, and I hope he can figure it out. At the very least, we're continuing to get good defense out of him, but if he can figure it out, he'd be a great role player for us right now. He just needs to get out of this slump. But I want to talk about Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen, I mean, he ends with, let me steal my wife's phone here since I don't have Sean to pick up the slack with the stats for me. Markkanen ends with 29, 9, and 5 with a block and 2 steals, 10 for 11 from the free throw line, 8 for 15 from the field. And this was what I want to see out of Markkanen. Man, he came out with a killer mentality that we kind of talked about. He attacked Anthony Davis, who is a strong defender, and he attacked him and continually went into his chest and was physical and moving Anthony Davis whenever he kind of wanted to get him to move, getting himself to a free throw line by being physical and aggressive. And it was such a performance to watch from Lauri Markkanen tonight. And then defensively was working his ass off on Anthony Davis and made Anthony Davis's life hard on the offensive side of the court. And part of that, we had a good idea when we were blitzing him, when we timed it right. Anthony Davis struggled at it. He obviously got a lot of assists because we're forcing him to pass more than he usually does. But overall, we made Anthony Davis really struggle. Now, this is a game without LeBron. This is a game you need to come out and kind of, same thing when we played Philadelphia without Embiid. You're supposed to come out with this type of game and crush these guys, and we did not do that. And it felt like one of those trap game moments of they're missing their star and they still have other players, but it's not the same, and we don't come out with that same intensity. And that felt like that. And then we got better in the second half, but I hate losing to the Lakers. So whether they got LeBron or Davis or not, I'm just happy we didn't lose them. And now that puts us officially ahead of them in the standings and record-wise, and continues the hot streak that we're on. And these are the kind of games we need to learn how to win, right? You come out and you struggle at the start of the game, and how do you bounce back from that? And how do you grind that win out instead of just coming out and lighting things up and everything clicking? How do you win the grinded out games when your several players just clearly aren't up for the performance? And how do you motivate that back into the team? And I thought we did a really good job in the second half bringing that. So that was awesome to see from our team response. And like I said, a big part of that was the lineup that we had at the end of the second quarter. Just an overall ends up being a really good team win by us. Our coach is showing really good things coaching and accountability wise that I felt like he didn't do at the start of the year. And I think it's overall better for our team. And we actually ran Keyonte George heavier minutes in the second half. And man, we can't talk about this game without talking about Keyonte George's explosion in the second half. Struggled in the first half, like most of the guys on the team. And second half, he ends up having, I believe, 17 points in the second half. Was way more efficient in the second half and controlled the game for a really good stretch. Third quarter into the fourth quarter, and helped kind of hold on to that lead when the Lakers were making a pushback. So it's been fun to see that kid's growth, and that kid has no worry about that dude's confidence, because he will attack anyone and take anyone on and is not afraid of any sort of moment, which is so important at a kid that age, this young in his career, to already be showing those kinds of things. He's already showing his improvement on his efficiency, which was a huge knock on him before he got hurt. Was he was coming out, he was getting good assists, and at times he was putting up good numbers, but his efficiency was awful. His three-point percentage was really bad. His field goal percentage was horrible. I believe there was a moment in the season where he had like bottom 5 worst field goal percentages for rookies in the past like 15, 20 years or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was low field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and he is slowly bumping that up. I'm curious to see what he's actually bumped that up to, because he's been able to jump that up so well. And and that's something Sean and I have talked about. So he's still field goal percentage. He's still shooting only 36% from the field, which obviously we need that to be much better. 32% from 3-point line. And so, but his efficiency in the last 10 games is kind of what I'm more interested in, because it feels like it's been much, much better. So you take out, 40% in the last 10 games, 33% from 3-point line. But he had two really bad kind of stinkers in that stretch. You take those two games out, and he's more up to like 45% from the field. And I can live with that from my rookie point guard who's still trying to figure things out. He's showing some explosion on the scoring side of things. And so it's exciting to see his growth that he's been showing tonight. Not just tonight, but overall during this stretch of wins. We played him next to Chris Dunn for a good while tonight, which I would prefer to see more lineups of him and Chris Dunn, or him and Agbaji together, and Clarkson and the other one. So Clarkson and Chris Dunn, or Clarkson and Agbaji, because both Clarkson and Keyonte have similar weaknesses on the defensive side of the court. Pair them up with offensive or defensive players. Pair them up with those defensive guards, because it brings more energy out of them and the team, but you're also, in a sense, able to hide them. When you're playing them together, it's really easy to attack one or the other. So I'd like to see those more heavier defensive lineups when those guys are on the court. And so it was interesting to see that lineup tonight, and it seemed like it was pretty successful with Keyonte and Chris Dunn out there playing together without really hindering either of them. This was one of Chris Dunn's worst first half wise. Like I said, most of the players' defensive performances where D'Angelo Russell pops off. And so something he had to kind of battle through tonight. But like I said, it's hard to really pick anyone out from our first half performance on the defensive side of the court. We still ended up beating them on the rebounding, which they were beating us early to all the 50-50 balls, any sort of rebounds. It was not that big of a lead. I think it was an 8-point lead at the time, and it felt like 20, because they were out hustling us, they were out working us, and they were out flopping us, and every aspect they were kind of beating us. And that bounce back that I mentioned several times tonight was really good to see, and it drives me nuts watching the freaking Lakers just go and flop around. And I can't tell you guys how happy I was to watch Austin Reeves get all mad about a foul call. Darvin Ham yelling at his coaching staff about if they should challenge it or not, and his coaching staff being like, "No, it was a foul. Do not challenge it. It was a good call." So that was pretty comical to see. Colin Sexton tonight, he had a good press, high energy that we needed at moments from him tonight. He ended with 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists on 8 for 13 and 10 for 10 from the free throw line. So double-digit free throws from both Clarkson and Markkanen. Those are super big things about the next step as a scorer that was really good to see out of Colin Sexton tonight, especially with the percentages that he's been shooting from the free throw line this season, where I believe he's just under 90% on the season. So getting double-digit free throws, especially on a team like the Lakers, they showed during the game, has had over the last year, several years, a much higher free throw discrepancy on for their side of it. So us being able to kind of push that in and force the rest into calls, Sexton and Markkanen did a great job about that tonight, and that pressure that they put on them. Even when they had good defenders on them, they were able to kind of keep that pressure up and force them into foul trouble. We obviously fouled out Austin Reeves. He's not a good defender, but fouled out Austin Reeves. Only bad part about that was we couldn't attack Austin Reeves on the defensive side of the court. But overall, I think it ended up being a very good win, just to show the way we could make adjustments throughout the game. There was some big individual performances that we absolutely needed tonight. John Collins hit several big threes tonight. I believe he ended up with a double-double. John Collins, 19 points, 13 rebounds, 3 for 4 from three-point line, a block and 3 steals, and a plus 18 on the plus minus, which Collins, his whole time in Utah this year, has pretty consistently been in the negative on the plus minus on our rotations. And I'd be curious to see the difference of early season to now, since we've changed to having him be a 5, because he has performed much better as a 5 than he was playing as a 4 for us. That seems to have kind of unlocked his potential with this team. And tonight, another a double-double, and it forces guys like Anthony Davis, when they're trying to guard John Collins, and he's a big-time shot blocker. When John Collins is hitting his shot, it forces Anthony Davis either to slide out to him to open the lane for us, which then allows Colin Sexton to go press the issue and get those foul calls, allows Clarkson to push the issue, Keyonte George to push the issue, driving to the rim. But if Anthony Davis is just going to sit in the paint, John Collins is a good shooter. He's been a good shooter for us this year. He floated around 40% all season long, and another good shooting tonight because Anthony Davis doesn't want to go out and guard him, wants to stay in the paint. And so it's been a big part of our spacing, has had 5 shooters on the court, even, Chris Dunn being our worst shooter with our starting lineup. And so that it's hard to argue. I've argued a lot with Walker Kessler being in the starting lineup. It's hard to argue changing up the starting lineup and changing John Collins back to playing the 4 or bringing him off the bench behind Kessler, because it's working right now. Our bench unit's working right now. And so it's kind of hard to argue mixing things up right now with it being consistent with this run. And that's kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about was, me and Sean have kind of gone back and forth, and is this sustainable? Is this sustainable? And I believe now we're 13 out of our last 17, maybe 14 out of our last 18. We are 11 out of our last 13. And so we are, you talk about burning hot. We are burning about as hot as you can as a team right now. And, you wait for that foot to drop where we're a team that's, Markkanen's starting to take that next step. But beyond Markkanen, we're not the Lakers who have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. We're not, the Mavericks with Doncic and Kyrie, and the Suns with the stars they have. We have Lauri Markkanen, who's taking those growth into from all-star to superstar type player, but then a lot of role players and younger players. And so we keep kind of waiting for that, sustaining this hot run that we're on to fall. And we are hitting a home stretch right now, which is usually where we play a lot better. It's where we were playing a lot better this whole season. The road is where we've struggled, and we come off a good road stretch to then playing at home. It's hard to see us losing any of these next 4 games at home. I think we have 3 more at home now. Yeah, 3 games at home, but we have the Thunder on Thursday, our last game at home. That is our biggest test, I believe, through our next stretch. And you start to wonder, how far can the Jazz kind of push this stretch? So we have Indiana, Golden State, and then Oklahoma City. Golden State is in their own struggle right now, and Indiana doesn't have Tyrese Halliburton, which then they're a bad defensive team, and he's a huge part of their engine in their offense. So that's a win. Another could be trap game that you have to come in and you kind of you make them a team. You punish them for not having their stars. You punish them for being out. You don't feel bad for them. You come in and punish that moment. So I'm curious to see. There's a lot of speculation about trades, and should we trade? Should we not? I still believe for our future, some trades do need to happen, because I'm focused on. It's hard to argue, right? It's hard to argue. We're 11-13 in our last 13, or 11-2 in our last 13 games, or 13-4 in our last 17 games. I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow. Of should we make trades, and why not write it out? And the concern is, when we get into the playoffs, do we have an actual team to be able to make a championship run? I don't think we do yet. We're building towards that. But at the end of the day, you can't argue it's been fun. This stretch of games has been really fun, and I can see why it can be hard to want to swallow making some trades. And so we'll see what happens over the next month. At this point, I'm just kind of riding it out, and I trust our front office that the moves they're going to make are the right moves. We've got really good people in our front office with Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck, and an owner who wants to bring a championship to Utah has consistently talked about that. And so whether we make trades or not, I'm riding that out with those guys and hoping they make the right decisions and hope that we do bring a championship and we build towards the right things. That we're starting to see a coach and a coaching staff that are exploding in confidence and their ability as coaches. And so the next few years could be super exciting as Jazz fans, and who knows how long that rides out with Lauri Markkanen being, at the age he is and the ability to play that we've talked about in length, and the young players we have developing, and so who knows what we can ride it out over the next few years. But the next month could be trade speculations all over the place. We could see several trades happen. We could not. We'll see. Let's ride it out. But enjoying this stretch of wins and the confidence that this team is growing. Tony Jones has mentioned it in his tweets that the turnaround of this Jazz team to what we are right now to what we were at the first month it's like got to be studied on some of the movements that have happened. I believe we were forced into some decisions from the coaches with injuries, but it's been a wild rise of the season, and hoping to continue riding it on Monday against the Pacers. They don't, like I said, they don't have Halliburton. Hope we can freaking take advantage of that and keep our momentum at home. But overall, we'll see what we can do. Hopefully, Sean will be back there for that game. I kind of watched this game, and my wife read a book and listened to me yell the whole time. So I'm sure some of you guys relate to that, but I'll see you guys Monday. Thanks, guys.